Hello. Hope everyone's doing well today. I'm going to do a card spread, but I wanted to share a visual, a little message that I got earlier today around like tenderness. So the visual that I got was a creme brulee, just a nice little custard tart of creme brulee. And it was like the full moon or the universe or whatever we're going through right now. Those would be, it's the astrological turn, the full moon, but not everybody necessarily, heeds that. I'm just using it as the transitional point that we've just come through. It's like the universe or the full moon was a spoon coming down onto the creme brulee, and when you tap it to kind of break the surface, there's that glass-like crust on the top of that crystallized sugar. And underneath, there's the soft yumminess, like the creamy part. And I feel as if that's the stuff that we're trying to get to. And if you were to take a hammer and smash through the surface of the creme brulee, it would probably splatter all over you, But if you just take the spoon, like you're just supposed to wrap really carefully on the surface of it. And I think that's what the universe is starting to do, and this is extendable to any circumstance that you might be dealing with, but it's basically like that crust, in order to get to the good stuff, does need to be broken. Except it takes a very soft touch to be able to do that with ourselves right now. So, for example, some of the things we might be changing in our lives might be like really hard things to change, or hard pills to swallow in order to change, or it takes a lot of willpower and effort to change certain things. Whatever it looks like for you, that shouldn't be done, even though it's hard to do, it shouldn't be done with like brute force or roughness or toughness. Like, I'm seeing the need to invoke a sense of tender, loving care in the things that we're doing right now. That includes the things that we're doing for ourselves, with ourselves, and that would also cover like self-talk, the way you think. You're the only one in there, in your own mind. You're the only one in there. So the climate of your own mind is the atmosphere, the vibe. It is up to you. But I'm just getting this deep need to I'm also seeing like a gymnasium, or like if there's poles and then they have like that styrofoam or padding zip tied around it, or just so that the kids don't bop their little, heads off of the poles and get hurt. It's like we have to insulate the things that we do. We have to remind ourselves to insulate our actions and our words, be it to others or if it's to ourselves, with tender, loving care and like a sense of gentleness right now. Even if the things that we're doing are hard and like immovable, patterns that we haven't been able to break for years. Specifically, what I'm getting is 2016 until 2023, if that's a prevalent window for anybody. I know that it is for the astrology and all these other transits that we've been dealing with, and these longer standing cycles that we've been breaking. But even though some of it could be like really hard, it doesn't mean that we need to be in a tough space about it all mentally. So that's like the overarching message for today's reading. This one could actually be short. I won't make any promises because I've seen how that goes before. The other thing I saw, like, again, if you were to take a hammer to the creme brulee in order to shatter the surface, it's too much force than what's needed, and it would make a mess. And when I saw that visual, I also saw like a heart, not like a heart, but like an anatomical heart, exploding, which is kind of a gross little image because like it went everywhere, But if for whatever reason in anybody's life or circumstance right now, there's this kind of like feel like you're gonna just like, I don't know, this level of like intolerance for the conditions of your life or a situation or the pacing of things aren't happening quick enough or well enough, or whatever the judgment that we've placed upon it is creating this like pressure. And now I'm also getting the physical sensations around like just more energy. Like you just kind of want to crawl out of your skin when you have a physical malady of some kind that doesn't make you feel comfortable. It's almost like that from an emotional perspective is how it's feeling. And so just let's put it this way, like something wouldn't have to explode if there wasn't pressure built up within it. And the purpose of a pressure cooker is to release that pressure steadily and slowly so that, you know, the lid doesn't blow off. And I think like it could be useful if you're feeling under pressure in any type of situation right now. How can you release the lid a little bit, you know, and let some of that steam out? I don't know. I don't have an answer for you, but that's what we need to do. Release the pressure and also take a little bit more care with how we're talking to ourselves in our own minds, potentially talking with others and stuff. And knowing it comes down to enoughness again, knowing that if you do want to change things in your life, that's just positive. It just is. Even if it's hard to do, change is good because it speaks to evolution and growth. So there is a lot to be said simply for the fact that we want to make changes at all. That in itself is a win. And then beyond that, we, as I've talked about for weeks, have the ability to identify certain things based on how they feel and keying into the changes that we want to make based on some type of future timeline that we can kind of deposit into the ethers and align our actions to actually be able, you know, so that it's not ships in the night, but it's actually going to lead us to the vision that we are trying to cultivate for a future that's more sustainable and abundant. All right, well, I lost my train of thought with that, but it's like, yeah, there's just this sense of like a need to take stock of the accomplishments, even though, see, here's the thing, is that as soon as you have somewhere that you want to be that you're not, there's a sense of being, you know, outside of it, or already not have, you know, a failure or lack because you're not there yet. That's the whole point. You're trying to get there. And I'm just feeling the need to remind of that. Remind ourselves that being on the journey is the win at all. It's not about having, of course we want things for certain reasons, and that's fine. You know, we're allowed to acknowledge the desires of our minds, hearts, and souls. But if trying to accomplish it is creating more pain in your life than like illumination or opening, then it's not necessarily not for you. It speaks to your process about how you're going about making the changes. And that's what I hope to uncover in today's spread, because for as intense as the energy is today, that's all I got. The creme brulee and the exploding heart. And I typically get more messages than just that. So I'm just gonna I'm actually taking, I shuffled really well, and I'm just taking 5 cards off the top to show us what we've got so far. So first card, and why I made a face, is because it's the Tower. So again, yeah, I mean, that like exploding heart visual, like the Tower is sudden and abrupt change that causes us confusion and overwhelm. And with the Cups, it speaks to illusion as well, and it has to do with what is real, there's a choice here. Again, with the memento mori, I feel like this pressure, or like something about permanence, right? Because our lives, whether or not you believe in reincarnation and the eternal nature of the soul, what you do in your life is what you do in your life, and then who knows what happens after, right? There's this idea around the decisions that we're making now having this weight to them, this permanence, this heaviness. And that's why it's like we would be inclined to take a hammer to it, but you just still want to use the edge of the spoon, and be delicate in that way. So it's starting out with this, not feeling like we understand how to continue in a stable way because we haven't tread foot in this like new territory before. And we need to drop the expectation around feeling like there's stable footing available. Unfortunately, it's part of the vulnerability of starting new things and doing new things differently. Everybody wants to start out in something and be really good at it automatically, but that's not typically the case. You have to find your footing as you go. So the next 3 cards, this is all lovely and good. It speaks to being giving of ourselves, cultivating stability, and having, harmony in our lives with regards to our feelings. Give me a clarifier for the 6 of Pentacles, the King of Pentacles, and the 2 of Cups, please. I'm going to cut the deck here to get that. It's the Hierophant. Yeah. The Hierophant is about like tradition and establishment. It can speak to, contracts or marriage or tradition or higher education, just doing things. I spoke on this 2 days ago, I think, when I was talking about there's this breaking of the mold with how things used to be done and how things can be done today and how people can choose to live their lives. And that's been the case for, a few decades, right? And there's always been tiers to the changing world, like women in the workforce now, it's not new, but it was once upon a time. And I've mentioned my grandfather before. I've spoken to him about, he was in an executive position where he was hiring people and firing people, and talked about what it was like to be like, maybe I should start hiring women, So it's really not that long ago. But my point is, I feel like, can I get him back? No, I lost it. I had the Hierophant out. Okay. I think that part of the disruption that we're feeling has to do with looking for the next step in the old template, and the next step is not going to be found in the old template. The next step is going to be found in an invisible but parallel way that you only discover by, it's like we render as we go in a computer game of sorts or a simulation. By putting the foot forward, the ground becomes clearer. And I'm going to I said, oh, yeah, I did say I wanted the clarifier for these cards. Okay, so the message that I got with the Hierophant is that it's not about doing things by the book, and it is kind of a challenge to our own expectations around tradition, perhaps, or how we thought things would go, maybe. But because I kind of used the Hierophant to clarify the Tower and the 7 of Cups, I'm gonna get some more. Let's see where we go with this. All right. So clarifying the 2 of Cups, the King of Pentacles, and the 6 of Pentacles, we have the Queen of Wands. Bottom of the deck. Man, the Hanged Man. Yeah, and what I'm getting with this is that it's almost like if I were to be on the other side of my readings and I heard myself say just one more time, like, oh, you have to take the bigger vantage point, you have to zoom out, you have to look from, a way that you haven't seen things from before in order to see it in a new way, I would be like, enough of that. Like, okay, stop saying that. I'm over it. I've heard it, too many times. But again, it has to do with the idea of like, well, I want to change something and I'm willing to go out of my comfort zone, but only till here. Meanwhile, the comfort zone's boundary is actually, you're just maneuvering within it's an oxymoron. It's like you're comfortable breaking out of your comfort zone, but only to a certain extent. Yeah, I'm getting like this, there's almost like this childlike denial / stubbornness around this, because everything's kind of plainly laid out, and it just has to do with taking a little bit more tenderness to the process of what we're doing right now and whatever it is that you are doing. But being giving of self, not feeling, no matter how you are and who you are and what you're doing, you always have something to offer someone. Even if you're struggling. And sometimes if you are struggling emotionally, mentally, physically, or financially, the best way to help yourself, and by that I mean you go to the root of the energy of what it is that you need to allow in order to bring more healing into your body and your energy, the best way to create that opening is to be giving. And again, you don't have to give to somebody with physical things like pentacles represent. Being giving of self could just be, listening to somebody or complimenting somebody. And the stability to be able to cultivate even more to give to others comes from having a sense of like I'm getting the tone that you choose to speak to yourself. Like I heard somebody say, and just forgive me because I can't remember the source of this, but it was like, when you are caring to yourself and you love yourself, you're complimenting God's work. If there is a creator who made everything, universal source energy has swirled around for millions and millions and millions of years, and now we're all kind of here walking around. That's how it's gone down. You really can't disagree with that no matter what you believe in, because we're alive and this is happening. So if that's the case, when you can notice the beauty in the world around you, but also just within yourself, when you realize what you bring to the table, when you realize that you're more than what you've let yourself be, I'm just seeing this as union. Yes, it can represent union with other people or another person, but it's also a union of self. And knowing that it's like, people struggle with self-love because it's like, well, I'm not that great. Like it's like, let it be okay, to give to yourself too, to give to others, but to give to yourself in this very like tender, loving, self-caring way. Let that be okay. Let it be all that it needs to be. And by that, I mean, it could involve, I don't know, saying no to things. So many more people that I know than not overextend themselves. It's so incredibly common to be overextending of ourselves and our abilities, and then we think that we can't handle things because that's what the evidence of our lives is showing us, when in fact we can handle a lot and handle those things well, but we just have to know where our boundaries are. We talked about that the other day, but yeah, I mean, this pairing has come out before, the King of Pentacles and the Queen of Wands, and as I described it before, it's like, it's an unlikely pairing. I had the King of Wands and the Queen of Wands out the other day, and this is not them, but it's still King and Queen energy. And I'd like to get some clarification on what I'm talking about here. Again, just to recap, there's like some discomfort around where we're going and how we're doing, but just take to the optimistic side of being like, if I've started changing things, or if things changed in a tower-like way that I didn't have so much control over, it's already begun. And it's that funny thing where it's like a riddle. It's like a kid's joke or something. It's like I don't know what it is, but it's like if somebody's on the mainland and they're trying to swim to the island, and they swim halfway and then they get tired and they swim all the way back. It's the same distance to just get there, And just because you're tired, like you've already left, so it's going to take the same effort to backtrack, but that's not, it's not really the point. So yeah, let me see what I get. And I'm just going to shuffle these out. I'm going to let these come out via shuffling. What I'm looking for, that was very quick, which means that there's some clarity around what I'm looking for. And that's about the King of Pentacles, the Queen of Wands, the Two of Cups, the Six of Pentacles. Because it's almost like, I feel like what I'm getting is like, it's not enough. It's not enough information around. There's something more to be illuminated here. And I will illuminate it. Okay, thank you. It is enough to be where you're at, just be nice to yourself. That's the big message today. Two of Wands and the Artist. Okay, so here's the other thing. Do you feel like a little boxcar on a train track that has no ability to move, and it's just moving through space and you can't go off the track and you're just hurtling through space? That sounds uncomfortable. You always have some ability to course correct and adjust, even if the swimmer was halfway to the island, instead of going all the way back, maybe they flip onto the back and do a little back paddle, backstroke for a little while instead of freestyle or whatever, the butterfly, whatever swimming they were doing. They have this ability to change it up and potentially conserve energy or, float for a little while. This is speaking to the strategy that we're employing to accomplish what it is that we want to do and change, needing a little bit of revision, potentially. Needing a little bit of revision. But for me, what I'm getting is that it's about self-care. It's about the way we speak to ourselves and others, and it's about the way we view things too. Something to back that up. That was the Artist and the Two of Wands, by the way. Yeah, the Page of Pentacles. One more. And then top and bottom, I think. Oh. Yeah. So the Page of Pentacles came out. And I did say one more, top and bottom, but two fell out. What were they? Judgment and the Ten of Cups. It's quite nice, quite lovely. I mean, what more can I say? It's like I need to unpack some things, but at the same time, it's pretty clear, I feel. In that it's redundant of the messages that I've been saying. So just to recap that, the things that are confusing to us, that are falling away, the choices that we need to make in order to, go forward for more stability and fulfillment in our lives, that emotional 10 cups, right? Everything can be subsequently manifested and created if there's an emotional foundation. And that could just be the emotional relationship. Again, I talked about the climate of your own mind. That could just be your emotional state. If somebody's emotionally balanced, then they have an easier time doing everything in life. People who are disconnected from their emotions might be able to, execute very well. And be very prosperous in so many ways, but what I'm getting is that it could be, more of a Hierophant planned path, and they end up kind of reaching a point where they wonder why they're not happy, or they keep reaching for more, and it's because they never were. They were just using the benchmarks of success that don't come from emotional fulfillment to gauge all of their progress. So the changes that I talked about, it's things being restored from the universe's perspective, and it's causing us to ask ourselves questions. It's causing things in our lives to change without our consent necessarily, and then we need to react to that. And it feels like things might be going wrong or changing course. But really what it's providing, you see there's pentacle, there's wand. That's passion and stability and creativity. But also the emotional fulfillment. Like there's the potential for all of the things. And I talked about like a little bit of a backpedal in order to go forward even more, like the slingshot energy. That's been at play here too. And so it seems like this tenderness that I like, the cream of the creme brulee, in order to access it. It's almost like the pressure cooker wasn't released and the heart did explode and the cream did go everywhere. Like maybe that already happened. Maybe accidentally we took a hammer to it and then like it splatted everywhere and now it's like I have to clean this up. So with that, I'm just gonna keep running with this. I'm gonna continue to use what I'm saying. So the creme brulee is good, right? It tastes good. It's nice. That's what we want. That's what we're choosing to enjoy and indulge in. But if it splatters everywhere, then you're gonna have to like lick it off of surfaces. That's not necessarily the way that one would consume it. And I talked about breaking tradition and doing things differently. So if you want to lick the creme brulee off of the walls and the table and the person next to you, then that's fine, and you can do that. But it makes it a little bit harder to enjoy. And so what I'm getting at is there is a lot of sweetness in what's being uncovered, but it's almost like in order to contain that sweetness and properly handle it, we just have to be like delicate and gentle, because the things that we're having to work on, like they may not feel the way that working on them will help us feel. And to work on them, yeah, it's this again. The Five of Swords has come out pretty consistently. You know what he's kind of taken the place of is like the Three of Swords, which is like the, you know, the heartbreak energy, feeling like we've severed ties with something or someone has with us. And this is more so about being in a situation and thinking that we did. It's like he took all the swords, and I've talked about this the same way in a different reading before, probably many times, but I see it almost as like he took away the ball from the people playing soccer and now no one can have fun. And that's not what he wanted. He just wanted a little bit of control. He just wanted a little bit of, you know, things are going differently than he thought maybe. Or what's interesting too, see this. They're both emulating the thinker. You know that statue? So and I'm a little more soft within myself today for whatever reason, but there's still major arcanas here. So I'm not like, see, like high energy. Like I wouldn't describe myself as high energy anyway, but I'm feeling the tenderness today. And that doesn't negate any of the major arcana cards here, because we still do have them, you know, the Tower, the Hanged Man, Judgment. What are these? I got two that flipped over. The Artist and the Hierophant from earlier. All right, that's enough. Yeah. It's strength, the Eight of Cups, and the Six of Cups. So inner strength again. It does play into what I'm talking about with needing to have this gentleness around our emotions and our efforts, but it's still powerful. Which again, it's like the counterintuitive, like if yeah, okay. Six of Cups and Eight of Cups are both Cups cards, right? So emotion. And it's like it feels confusing, perhaps. I'm seeing just like Seven of Cups again. Having looked at things from different avenues and trying to move towards with a lot of intention. Like I see us as having put in a lot of work towards our new chapters, all kinds of work. There's been a lot of planning and drafting and dreaming around this, and that's all productive. But what I'm talking about with having the first step forward in order to feel the ground underneath, that's going to continue to be happening here for a little bit. And it has to do with the inner strength of knowing that that's, the way to go. And some of the discomfort around like vulnerability I feel with this. So the 8 of Cups, it does speak about the past, maybe the way that things were. Did I say 8? I meant 6. Did I say 6? Who knows? The video does, and you do, because you just heard me say it, but I'm like a goldfish. I immediately forget what I said. Only when I'm doing readings, not in my real world. In my real life, I have a very sharp memory. Yeah, I think that I'll get a clarifier for this too, but at the same time, it's like, this is funny. This is just funny energy. It's like we're still trying to align this new emotional beginning and where we want to go and where we want to like plant our roots, in a new way. It's being informed by the past, and I talked about that a few weeks ago in my childhood nostalgia reading around like thinking about the things that really lit you up and made you feel like yourself, or the way you relate to people that you met and formed bonds with when you were a kid. Or it could speak to actual children, your children or someone else's children. It's almost like we keep looking for this new emotional place to go. And it's basically promised, it's promised to us. It's just about the discomfort of making that, really gentle tap into the surface of the creme brulee. Maybe it's foreign to be seeing things in a new way, Maybe there's more available to us than we thought, more land to be covered than we thought. So there's this daunting, like I don't even know if I can even do any of this. That's kind of the feeling that's part of this as well. And so it does take this contemplation. And I'm also getting that we're just sick of thinking about it all. But, yeah, let me get a clarifier on that. But it is here, and it is sweet at the end of the day. It does taste good. Maybe you don't like creme brulee. I probably haven't had creme brulee in years. It's not something I would typically order. It's kind of like, yes, I could, but why would I? You did not just puke on my white carpet. He didn't. We're all good. I say that, yet there's like burn holes everywhere from me lighting my sage and my Palo Santo. But God forbid he pukes on my carpet. Just a little cough, I think he had. Okay, wait, there's a thought that needs to come out that wasn't finished from that. So there's, it's almost like too many, yeah. How it's feeling is like there's too many things to think about as we go through these transits right now. And that's why I'm seeing the need for just being gentle with yourself, Don't judge your own process. If you feel good one day and you're like, I'm making progress and things are going well and I'm doing it, and then the next day's not like that at all and you feel like everything's like almost back to square one and everything got all fucked up and what do I do? What do I choose? That's not the case. That's just in the course of a spiral ascension when two, points on a similar, like a higher rung. You have a picture? Yeah, here we go. I knew there'd be something within this. You see this mountain? If he's going up this trail, you're not going to go straight up the side of the mountain. You go around and around and around. So I know there's no like second path, but if there was another road higher up, there'd be this feeling, right? Once you get to the upper path, but you're right above the point that you were before, it's the vibrationally and wavelength wise, it's the same how do I put this? Help me out. Just trying to organize my thoughts here. Okay, so you'd be experiencing a similar thing, but with a different quality within your own energy, so that it feels you have the capacity to experience the same old stuff differently, because you are changing. So the universe, when it throws the same shit at you again and again, don't feel like you're going in circles. Be like, wow, this is great. I have the opportunity to respond to this like I never have before, like I never would before. And when you do that, you're not just like, I'm going to surprise them and do something different today. It's not like that. It's because you know different, you feel different, and you want different. So you're going to do something that's honestly aligned with what it is that you do want, feel, think. And then whatever the recipient of those actions is feeling or thinking, we have to be okay with that. And there seems to be this like uncertainty / discomfort around breaking the convention of our own patterns. Oh, another thing that I'm getting with that is like, you can change. Never mind. Scratch that. So, I had something else. What was I going to say? Something about this spiral ascension, feeling the same things, but now it all feels different. What's the biggest thing standing in our way right now, given the current energy and what I've talked about thus far? What's the biggest thing standing in our way? No, give me something clean, clear. Is trusting that there's something, to all of it. Is trusting that something is happening even though we may not be able to see the progress or feel it the way that we want to right now. The biggest thing standing in our way is that we don't have the same amount of control that we're used to having. But guess what? You never have. You're not meant to as a human. You have your intention, but the universe sees more than, it looks over everything. This is the whole zodiac wheel, all the seasons, all the time. Like back when I was in Italy, I was talking about the Akashic records, where outside of time and space, which is, it's hard for people to be like, what's outside of time and space? Like, what does that even mean? For some reason, the analogy that I like is like, if you took all of the world, I probably used this before, the world's lifespan, like a pool stick, and it was on a wall, like the way that pool sticks are on like racks on the wall, and you just took it off its little, and you could hold it, the beginning of time, the end of time, outside of space and time. All of that is held within this, and there's a lot more about that, the arrangement of energy within that continuum, the dawn of time and the end of time. There's a lot more arrangement within that than we care to realize, in that, yeah, of course there's randomness in the universe, but it's also the randomness that results out of the collective manifestation of everybody having their free will, and the universe organizing that free will into, shapes that make sense, really. And a lot of that has to do with the karmic patterns and like the redirections that people experience when they use their free will to do things that are against what their soul is trying to guide them to see. So the Wheel of Fortune is the biggest thing that's in our way right now. What do we not see about the energy right now? What are we not seeing? Ooh. Aww. Guys. It's the King of Wands and the Six of Wands. And I kind of am taken back to what I said in the beginning. Like the journey itself is the accomplishment. It's a huge deal to be dealing with the stuff that we're dealing with right now. It is. That's why, like, I don't know. If I'm out in public and I'm dealing with different people and situations and things, it's like you never know what people are going through. You never know. You never know. And I know this because I know what I'm going through, and I know that no one would ever know what I'm going through. You know? And it's basically just what we don't see is that there is accomplishment and victory, like, within all of these efforts. It's not for nothing. It's not just going round and round. I love that they're both of wands too, because there's a lot of pride in this, and something that I feel like I haven't pointed out before. Again, with the lion. You see these two lions here? There's a lion here too. So, I mean, it's just a really beautiful, complete picture with that. I like that very much. We just have to be okay with the timing of it. And that's not up to us. That's not up to us. Like, you know, I have a friend. And she would love to meet her husband like yesterday. You know what I mean? And I keep saying, like, whether or not it's next week or next year or 5 years from now, that person, eventually, you will probably be married. You know, you'll have a family. We don't know when that's going to be. So that person is already out there, you know, assuming you're not marrying a child brat, you know, groom or whatever. Like, they've already been born. They've already lived. They're out there learning their lessons, going through their shit to become the version of themselves that they will be when you meet them. And you wouldn't want to rush that. And if you have this urgency and this desperation with which you show up to every day with, all you're doing is extending the timeline, number one, because that's not an attractive energy with which we can receive what it is that we want. But also, if it did from this day take 8 months or 8 years for her to meet him, you know, if you look back, that time passes anyway. You show up to each and every day. You enjoy that day for what it's worth. You take care of yourself. You love the people that are around you that you do love, you know, your inner circle. And I mean, even like people from way far away, but that you're connected to, just whoever you talk to and have in your life. You're distracting me. Like, I understand, but we will. Go to your bed. Muttley, just relax. My point is, the Wheel of Fortune is telling us that she's got it covered, you know. If this character showed up on my path, if I was walking the dog and I was in the woods and like this character just like walked out in front of me, I wouldn't be like, do you know what you're doing? Like, I would trust that this character has it all figured out and that they've done it a few times, you know. The outfit, everything speaks to experience. I'm just saying, you know, I use that example about my friend because it's like, just do you. Just take care of yourself each and every day. Take care of, you know, you can still, a lot of people think I need to have this in order to have that. Like, I need to have my life partner and my house and my this and my that before I can do any of that. And that's not true. I mean, really, whatever you have today, whatever you have available to, that's just work on what's in front of you. And I don't mean don't work towards the long-term vision, but you have everything you need today to service the vision. And I would hate for somebody to miss out on living their own life because they don't think that their life is going the way that it should. Because that's when, you know, the days, the weeks, the years, they start to fly by because you're just working. We're trying to get these results that will come about quicker and more in a more aligned way if we can forget that factor, the timing factor of it all, which is so hard to do. which is very hard to do. What do we need to embrace the most right now, energetically? What can we do to help ourselves through this time of needing to be a little bit more caring with ourselves? I'll take it because it wanted to flip. I'm seeing vulnerability again in an offering because it's the Knight of Cups. So perhaps the release of, okay, all right, that was like 4, so I'm going to chill for a sec, but perhaps something else that happened during this reading, I removed my rings from my fingers. I took them off, okay? I don't usually do that during a reading. Some days I wear rings, some days I don't. Some energy healers and people who work with energy say that you should not wear rings because there's a lot of energy with the hands, right? Like for me, and I realized I never said this. I said this videos and videos ago, but I never finished that train of thought. I was talking about being an artist and how I channel from the heart to the hands. I never finished that thought, but that's the end of that thought. The heart chakra is important to me because even though I get visions, third eye, crown chakra, it's about the heart because of the location of the hands to the heart and letting that energy. Anyway, there's a really strong, and there's also different chakras aside from the 7. I think there's like 22 different chakras, and we've got chakras in our different sub, energy centers within the body. But some people will not wear rings because they think it interrupts the energy flowing through their hands. And if I were to do artwork, I probably wouldn't wear rings to do that. But my point is I subconsciously removed my rings, and it's telling me that we need to let things flow. We need to, there could be different things in our lives, in our houses, in our minds that are blocking the energy that we can still do to, release and remove. In fact, just do that. I don't know, just scrub your body with salts. That's what I'm getting now, just the need. Or you could even go outside and I know it seems really stupid. It does a lot. I promise you. Just just to clean out the, because a lot of the times too, if we start these new chapters, we have goals, we have things that aren't working. We had this crazy thing happen that changed our whole lives and we do things different, whatever it is. We get funneled into these little avenues of thought where we get so used to our own circumstances that we forget how much we're dealing with, how much we've already accomplished, how much is, available to us when we take care of ourselves. And what I was talking about before around people just overextending themselves and then being hard on themselves because they can't keep up with all of it, when it's really just not all for you, It's not your job to carry other people's shit. Of course, we do have agreements and arrangements with people, and we owe things to people if we, what did I ask? Energy. I'll finish my thought first. If we have arrangements and agreements and situations with people where we have a give and a take with them for a certain purpose, then you have to honor that. But in a lot of cases, we overrun ourselves with that. So anyway, energy to embrace. What I was going to say before is the releasing of the steam from the pressure cooker perhaps could be done just a little bit in order to feel like we're not the boxcar with only one way to go, Just a little bit of a sampling of releasing something emotionally. It could be writing something down or expressing something to someone, or even just the ability to see yourself in a new way that is more emotional. We've got a lot of emotional cards out here. We've got the best emotional cards out here. The 2 of Cups and the 10 of Cups are the best, It's beautiful. And I mean, these cards are beautiful too, just in their own way. They signal different things. But so that came out first with the energy, what we need to embrace, what's going to help us through. You know what else did? The Ace of Wands, the 8 of Swords, and the Well. The Well came out yesterday, and it's about knowing that what you're connected to in your mind. This is weird, right? Sometimes I think about the mind as like a dressing room. Unless you're shopping with your friends or you're little and your parent with you or something, you typically don't go into the dressing room with other people. You go in there, and even though other people this is falling apart. My point is, everybody has a mind, right? We all know what it's like to think. But no one's ever been in your mind. No one ever will be in your mind. You're in there alone. I think sometimes because of that, that's how we get all wrapped up in the illusion around separateness and our own egos and our own identities as being, really different than other people. And we are all very, very different. I won't deny that. That's one of the beautiful qualities of the human tapestry. I have a card that my mother sent me on my fridge, and it says, "We are all uniquely beautiful quilts stitched together by all we have been through." I think that's lovely. My point is, your dressing room, cast that aside. That did not mean anything. Your mind and what it's like to be in your own mind, this is the same as anybody else's. We all think different, and we all, of course, think in certain ways because of how we've evolved over time. But that connection to energy, to something higher, whoever you pray to, whomever you pray to, whatever you believe in, your access point to being able to change things or manifest things is the same as everybody else's. Excuse me. That's our God-given right. You are connected to the depths of your own ability to tap into new things and pull new emotional waters up from the well and create something new. And reminding ourselves of that connection is what's going to get us through right now. Because when you start feeling really dejected and trapped, you feel isolated and alone. I'm going to read from I know what this is. We know what this is. This is passion, and it's a new beginning. It's a fresh start. Ace of Wands is also the most phallic card in the deck. But I'm just seeing this, again, with the treating yourself with tender loving care. If you need to rest deeply and just turn your brain off, if any of the anxious thoughts around what it is that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis right now, if you need to kind of just shut that off and zone, just do that for a little bit and be gentle with yourself. But, don't use it as an excuse to become stuck and stagnant with the things that, because then again, you'll get towered. Ace of Wands, inspiration, potential, creation, enthusiasm. I'm going to read this too because I haven't read this before. The suit of wands mirror your consciousness and give insight into the core of what you are, both external and internal. They urge you to take action in situations that arise in your life. Yeah. So just in asking about the energy to embrace, it's about, I would say not, resting if you need to rest. We know about that. I think it's more so about not getting into this Eight of Swords, where really she's in this super victim-y, yes, she's tied with rope, but her hands are not, she could cut herself free. She has swords around her. It's that notion again of being a boxcar on a train track that has nowhere to go, or swimming back to the mainland after you already made it halfway. So there's this need to persevere here. And we're going to be able to accomplish that by reminding ourselves that we are connected to something that has the power. And by connected to something, I mean, it's you, it's your soul. It's the quality of being alive and having a mind and be able to think and conceive of things that don't already exist. So the belief that something that you think on can come through for you, maybe not exactly like you pictured it. Again, that's needing to release the control around how things look and how things go. This has been interesting. I'll probably say that every time though. Don't forget that the unseen energy was the Six of Wands and the King of Wands. That's really major. That's a big deal because the definition for the Six of Wands is victory and success. So the energy to embrace is kind of just being able to, if you must, start over mentally and say, you know, today's a new day. Regardless if it's, you know, perhaps your whole thing that you're changing on is about, like, just as an example, like maybe it's about a changed habit that's like sobriety or something that's really cut and dry, and it's day 38. Just pretend it's day 1. You know, this is no matter how far along in a certain process or evolution, macro or micro, in the shifts and cycles of energy that are turning right now, be able to take that fresh and inspired energy to the process of moving through it as if you've just begun. And now I'm seeing like a cartoon Bugs Bunny who's like, you know, they start running I'm not going to take that, it's too many. Start running a marathon, and then it like fast forwards and he's like really tired. Yeah. And just again, I've said it, I know I've said it a million times, the need to be tender and gentle with yourself and with others. And part of that is because the stuff that we're uncovering is really creme brulee again. It's really sweet. It doesn't need a firm, you know, approach. What am I even asking for here? What would I like? Conclusory? No. Something. I am going to get an animal spirit, by the way. I think what I'd like to get is a clarifier for the 8 of Swords and the Ace of Wands and the Well. So in terms of energy to embrace, my interpretation of the 8 of Swords, and I know I threw out a couple, so this is the final word on that. My interpretation for the 8 of Swords in the energy to embrace position would be that we need to remind ourselves that even when you're the most stuck, you're not totally stuck. It's just a new level of the video game. You know what I mean? It's much harder. Like the levels of a video game become more challenging to beat as you get better. And it's not supposed to be discouraging. It's supposed to kind of, I mean, it's, you know, it's about the doing things new, going elsewhere differently. The path that continues go up and up. As you get higher on the mountain, right, the atmosphere thins out. If you climb a mountain and it's high enough, you will notice a difference in your ability to breathe the oxygen at those higher altitudes, and potentially there's more wind and the temperatures are colder, but you're still walking a path, you know. And I see this need to embrace the idea that even if you don't feel like you can move with anything right now, it just takes a scaling back again. And I'm still getting this like eye roll energy of like, oh, I don't want to do that anymore. Well, okay. Then swim on back to the mainland, I guess. It's going to take the same amount of time. But just, yeah. Yeah, the other thing I'm getting, a card flipped out, it's face down, I can't see it yet. If you think you're stuck, maybe it's because you think you have to move and do something, when in reality the universe is like, just calm down, just stay there. Like, we'll be with you in a moment. That's a different interpretation that I didn't even think on. So really that's going to be subject to interpretation and what resonates for you in your particular situation. But it could be that we think we're stuck and we're not. We're just being held and kept, you know, and we'll know when it's time to keep going or keep moving. Or you truly are and feel stuck, but you're saying, you're identifying, this is what's happening. This is what I feel like I can't do. I can't. If you're saying I can't about anything right now, then it's you. Yes, you can. You just don't know. You haven't seen how yet. And again, that could involve being patient and waiting to see when more is revealed to you. Or it could be the fact that you can't see based on the old, you know, method of doing things. And so maybe you don't like that because you don't want to have to take these first steps and see the ground appear as you go. You'd rather see the ground, know where you're walking, and go for it that way, because we sort of expect to be able to plan more than we've been allowed to at this point in time. There's a very like fly by the seat of the pants energy through June, July, and August this year, because these changes are happening more quickly than they actually take time to manifest. I do not talk about the fifth dimension, or 5D versus 3D a lot, because I get irritated at how like misused those terms are, 5D and whatnot. But it really is that the energy comes from the 5D down, trickles down. It's all about what's going to manifest in the physical based on what we continue to push forward and fuel, and then what we stop fueling energetically. This was the one that came out. Yeah, I mean, I was asking for a clarifier on the Ace of Wands and the Eight of Swords. And, I mean, Death is a good card because it speaks to really being able to have a new beginning, but the only thing standing in the way of that is well, the divine timing of it all. We don't know when things are going to happen, and that's okay. But not doing CPR on a dead body, not taking a dead dog out for a walk, really just acknowledging that there are certain things that we do not need to do anymore. And I'm not gonna put all these cards back in. I'm just gonna clear them out so I have a little bit more space to work with. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull just a couple more cards, and it's gonna be incoming energy and advice. 1 and 2. Incoming energy and advice. And I know I already kind of covered advice and energy to embrace, but a little different. Incoming energy, please. There it is. And advice. Take it. Incoming energy is the Three of Pentacles. So again, it speaks to connection, collaboration. They have the energy again of what I talked about, of like, you start a race and everybody goes out the gate real fast, and then by the end it's like, or even by the middle it's like, they have that beginning energy in terms of, his paper, drafting things up. Incoming, this could be people reaching out to you, as I talked about the other day, like asking me to sing with them. There could be people reaching out to you, or things happening in your world. And the advice is the Seven of Pentacles. The advice is to continue to put in work, and to, take note of the things that cross your path, or the people's like names that pop up that you haven't seen in a while. Maybe incoming energy, maybe you're the one who wants to reach out, or you're going to be hearing from people who you haven't thought that you could like do something with, a project or a partnership of some kind, but you actually can. Seven of Pentacles is this kind of like middle of the journey exhaustion that I just talked about. Like, he's looking at what has worked on, and he's looking at it and he's kind of tired, and he's like, I wish this was enough, I wish I didn't have to keep going, but it's not. But 7's almost there, and it's great. And 7 plus 3 is actually 10. So with this energy of partnering with people and continuing to put in work, we do have the 10 of Pentacles, numerologically. And that's saying that that's what's going to get us there. I can't stop. I wish I hadn't done that. But I'm on camera, so I have to share. The Five of Cups in many cases is actually an energy that leads to positive change, because, you remember what it was like I'm thinking about being a child and being upset and saying like, I'm going to run away. I did this all the time. I have a lot of experience being that kid. But anyway, you run away, and then you kind of have to come back at some point. And that's like the worst part, because then it's like, they're going to know that I wasn't serious, even though I had full intentions of going. That's kind of like this dejected, woe is me, not seeing the goodness, the sweetness of the creme brulee. he's kind of just going to have to get up and keep on doing something at some point. So I see this as a good sign. It's the energy that we have to be in sometimes before we're able to be like, all right, let's go. Let's do something new. And I mean, the beautiful thing is that he stands up and he turns around and he sees the Two of Cups, and that's, the union and soulmate and full of love harmony card. So yeah. I did shuffle these, and I'm just going to cut the deck to get our animal for the day. I mentioned this card a few weeks ago because I like it a lot. Vulture Spirit. Nothing is wasted. 63, again with the 6 and the 3, that's a 9. And the 9s are about persevering because you're almost at a 10 for something. Could be the 10 of a big cycle, could be the 10 of a smaller cycle. What seems hideous has its own beauty, and the recycling and repurposing the vulture does is as important as any other activity in nature that supports the cycle of life. Vulture Spirit's message is that nothing is to be wasted, for nature sees value in everything that exists. What seems rotten and ugly has the potential to be transmuted into something beneficial, and you are reminded that any suffering you have experienced has not gone to waste. Wisdom and understanding that arose from the experience are talismans that will serve you on your journey wherever you go. What is decaying is only changing form and will fertilize seeds you wish to plant, turning that which has passed away into the substance that will support new growth. All that you might wish to deny or discard has value and can be repurposed and reintegrated into the new that you are becoming and the new life that you are dreaming into being. No pain was in vain and no experience was wasted, for you have the power to use it to co-create something far better. This is the miracle in partnership with Spirit. Yeah, I'm getting the Well card again, and knowing that new things can be generated. For energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be changed from one form to another. This is funny, and I'm going to read the protection message, but it's not saying 10 of Wands, you have to take all your burdens with you because they're going to fertilize your new dreams. No, you let go, but you have faith that the stuff that feels like you can't be rid of it, that's also fertilization, There's different, so transmutation, Sometimes when we change energy in form, we change it for ourselves. Sometimes we change energy and release it out. So there's alchemization, there's transmutation. It's about knowing that nothing has gone to waste with Vulture Spirit, but it's not saying I would just caution against being confused with anything around what we were talking about a few weeks ago with Beaver Spirit. Having a firm foundation, even though the rotten logs will decay and, the bioactivity of something that is it's going to go back into the nature. It doesn't mean that maybe right there is the best spot to do it because that's where maybe new logs can go to build a firm foundation. It just means that there is value and, nutrients and everything that the earth needs already within that wasted material, maybe it won't contribute to the new build, but it still feeds back into the system. Yeah, I've always loved this message because sometimes we feel like we've wasted time or done things wrong, and you can't if you understand why your life has happened the way that it has. Kitty? What are you doing? Unusual sound for my cat to be making. All right, here's the protection message. It says, do you wish you could run away from your past or deny your mistakes? Not so fast, says Vulture Spirit. You have gained something valuable from the experience. Let your grief or anger move through you, and soon your emotions will transform, for you will come to see that you have learned and grown. The alchemy of transformation is a gift from spirit, so never disown what embarrassed, disappointed, or shamed you. It will soon be a great source of wisdom and strength as you work with the magic that allows miracles to be created out of sadness and beauty to arise from ugliness. Vulture Spirit wants you to know that you embody beauty, and the alchemical transformation of the past is happening already. Hang in there. You are so loved, and so much beauty is waiting to come out of all of this. Very apropos. So that's it for today. I urge you to think about the creme brulee when you go to do things, because then the hope would be that you use a spoon and not a hammer with yourself, with others. I loved that we ended off on that note, because it just talks about what I was talking about with feeling like you're going in circles. You're not. You are moving through things. And sometimes, like, thinking about certain anniversaries, sometimes things happen in our lives and it's only until years later that we're like, that became an anniversary, like something happens and then year after year you kind of think about it because there's something happened on that day, and so we go through these different cycles, and sometimes those events can be triggering to us, even though we're no longer living with whatever maybe it was a bad thing that happened. And so every year you kind of have a mourning around that time or something, but it's like, it's okay. It's okay to feel the feelings that come with that. For instance, if you lost a parent and the anniversary of their death every year, comes around, nothing will be able to change the fact that happened, and it's okay to grieve on an annual basis, like to pay homage to the loss that you underwent with that. Yeah, and then just also, though, like those emotions, embarrassment, guilt, and shame, those are the emotions that I think people try the hardest to avoid. And they are at the bottom of the wavelength visual that I showed a few weeks ago. And there's a reason for that, and it has to do with core programming and childhood wounds. So just know that if there are things that you do carry embarrassment, guilt, and shame around, the way through is you. And it's through, and again, I'm seeing like removing of my rings. Like let that energy flow. It's not going to kill you to feel those things. It's going to set you free, on the contrary. And then just be really nice to yourself and know that you're doing a great job in like whatever it is. Even if you don't think that you have been, if you've been slacking off, then you know that, and you're realizing that for a reason. So like a loving parent would, nurture yourself into doing a better job if you think you can do a better job. But if you're at your max and you're doing the most and you can't give any more, then that's enough. And I think a lot of the times we oscillate between feeling like we're, I don't know. I mean, I think that people are rarely satisfied. They're either very critical with themselves or they think they're on the top of the world. And it's like, there's got to be some way to live a little bit more stably in a space that appreciates both, I'm not saying don't celebrate your successes. I'm not saying that at all. But sometimes we don't celebrate scaling out, right? Just scaling all the way out. Like if I were I don't know, like an amorphic cloud goddess who just kind of floated around and like popped in on people and like wondered what someone was doing, and I floated over and I spied in on their life for a little while, I'd be like, wow, this is fascinating. Look, like she did this and then that happened and then this emotional roller coaster. Like, wow, it's so rich and full of activity. It would be those emotional highs and lows that gave character to that life. Yeah, and going back to embarrassment, shame, and guilt again, that's the stuff Like, if you never allow yourself to feel that, then you won't really be able to feel the pinnacle of good human emotion, because you've decided to truncate and crop part of the human emotional scale. And when you do that in a mirror-esque way, you limit the ability that you have to access the full human emotional spectrum. And I'm not saying be a loose cannon and, of a bipolar nature and have all of the good emotions and bad emotions happening all the time, but more so like a life well lived and a full life doesn't deny the emotional experience. And that was a theme that kind of emerged early in the reading, but yeah, that's it. I'm just going to do another little clearing. You can end the video if you'd like. It's basically over, but just to kind of sit with me and let the smoke come through. And I'm just going to silently kind of pray for releasing too at this time. So if you're just like, I don't know, feeling burdened, feeling stuck, feeling confused, feeling over it, feeling exhausted, just turn that over to me now. Just release it. Just take it out of your pocket like it's like some loose change and just like put it on the table, just turn it over for release, and we'll work on clearing that away right now. And in return, I offer you some clarity. Imagine this like glow of light. It's silver. It's silvery. It starts in your feet and it kind of moves up your feet and your ankles and your shins and your knees and your thighs, your hips and your abdomen and your chest, your shoulders, your neck, your head. The silvery light just kind of comes in and fills your whole being. And every little particle of that light has space in it. It's like breathing new space into your body. And that light and that silver, beautiful, illuminating quality of new energy coming into you replaces the clutter of the burdens and the mental activity and the not enoughness that you've been carrying around. Okay, thanks for sitting with me today. And as always, maybe I haven't said this in a few videos, but I leave my comment section turned off because I personally wouldn't be able to deal with, and it's not like I have a major following by any means at all. And maybe I never will, but I just simply can't deal with the positive or the negative feedback. It'd just be a time suck, and I'd be fixated on what the comments mean and what I need to do as a result of that. And I'm not open to that at this time. However, I do value the opinions of others, and I very much take on and incorporate personal feedback when I'm able to receive it. So if you do have feedback for me about the way that I do these readings, or suggestions or things you'd like to, see, or maybe you can, who knows. Just send me an email. It's wordsmithoftheimperial@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to listen to whatever it is that you have. All right, be well.